My name is Emily, and this is my story. It's not your typical fairy tale, but it's mine, and I wouldn't change a thing. I'm 29, have a great job, a loving husband, Alex, and a cozy little house we call home. But life wasn't always this kind to me. 10 years ago, I was a different person. At 19, I found myself lost in a whirlwind of corporate parties and social drinking. It started innocently enough, a drink here, a party there. But before I knew it, alcohol became my crutch, my escape from stress and loneliness. Those 3 years are a blur, a time I'd rather forget but can't. Everything changed when I hit rock bottom and realized I needed help. I turned to a special center where people like me, battling their demons, found solace and strength. It was hard, but I came out sober and have been that way ever since. Alcohol, can't stand it now. It makes me sick just thinking about it. 2 years ago, I met Alex. He was different from anyone I'd ever known. Kind, understanding, and he had this way of making me laugh even on my worst days. We had a whirlwind romance, and I knew he was the one. But I couldn't start a life with him holding on to my secret. So, one evening, I told him everything. My struggles, my rehab, my sobriety. I remember how nervous I was, sitting there on our old couch, fidgeting with the hem of my shirt. Alex listened quietly, his eyes never leaving mine. When I finished, there was a long pause, and my heart was racing. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Emily, your past doesn't define you. It's who you are now that matters." He hugged me, and at that moment, I knew I was safe with him. We got married a year later. It was a beautiful ceremony, simple yet perfect. But then came the reception, and with it, my first encounter with Diane, Alex's mother. I always knew she was a bit intense, but that day, she cornered me with a question that caught me off guard. "Why aren't you drinking, Emily? It's your wedding," she asked, a glass of champagne in her hand. I felt my throat go dry. Alex had told me to be honest, so I was. "I don't drink, Diane. I used to have a problem with alcohol, but I've been sober for years now." The look on her face was a mix of shock and something else. Contempt? It was hard to tell. "An alcoholic," she muttered under her breath. I felt my heart sink. Alex jumped in. "Mom, it's not like that. Emily's overcome so much. She's the strongest person I know." Diane didn't say anything more, but her cold stare stayed with me. That was the beginning of our rocky relationship. Little did I know, it was just the tip of the iceberg. After the wedding, life with Alex was everything I dreamed of. But there was a shadow hanging over us, and that shadow had a name. Diane, my mother-in-law. She never said anything outright about my past, but her disapproval was clear as day. It started with small comments. "I'm just surprised Alex chose someone with your history," she'd say, or, "In our family, we usually handle our problems without making a fuss." Each word was like a tiny needle poking at my confidence. One Sunday, we were invited to dinner at Diane's. Alex was in the kitchen helping his dad with the grill, and I was left alone with Diane in the living room. The air was stiff with unspoken words. "So, Emily, how's work?" Diane asked, not even looking up from her magazine. "It's going well, thanks. Just finished a big project," I replied, trying to sound cheerful. She hummed, her eyes still on the pages. "I just hope you're not overworking yourself. We wouldn't want any old habits to resurface." I felt a flush of anger, but I bit my tongue. Arguing with Diane wasn't going to help. "I'm doing fine, Diane. Thanks for asking." Alex walked in then, saving me from more of Diane's jabs. "Everything okay in here?" he asked, glancing between us. "Perfect," Diane smiled, as if our previous conversation never happened. "Just chatting with Emily about her job." The dinner was tense, at least for me. Diane played the gracious hostess, but her eyes kept darting to me, like she was waiting for me to slip up. I stuck to water, even though the wine was flowing freely around the table. After dinner, When we were alone, I told Alex how I felt. "I don't know, Alex. It's like she's always judging me, waiting for me to make a mistake." Alex put his arm around me. "I know my mom can be tough, but she just needs time. She'll come around, you'll see." I wanted to believe him, but deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. Diane had made up her mind about me, and nothing I did was going to change it. The drive home was quiet. I stared out the window, lost in thought. Alex reached over and squeezed my hand. "We'll get through this, Em, together." A few months had passed since the wedding, and Alex's family planned a big gathering. It was a sort of annual tradition, a summer barbecue where everyone from his side of the family would come. I was nervous, but Alex reassured me that it would be fine. The day was sunny and warm, perfect for a barbecue. Everyone was there, aunts, uncles, cousins. The backyard buzzed with laughter and chatter. I tried to blend in, helping with the food and setting up tables, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Diane was there, of course, floating around, greeting everyone. Then, during lunch, she called for everyone's attention. My heart sank. I had a feeling I knew what was coming. "Family," Diane began, her voice loud and clear. "I think it's important we all know who we're welcoming into our family. Emily, here, has a past. She's a recovering alcoholic." The words hung in the air. I felt every eye in the backyard on me. My face burned with embarrassment and anger. Before I could say anything, Alex's Uncle Mike, who I hadn't spoken to much before, stood up. "Well, Diane, since we're sharing, I might as well say I'm 10 years sober myself. It's not easy overcoming something like that. Takes a lot of courage and strength." I looked at him, surprised and grateful. Diane's face tightened, but Mike continued. "I think what Emily has done is remarkable. She should be commended, not judged." Then, one by one, other relatives started chiming in. "We all have our struggles, Diane," said Alex's cousin Sarah. "Emily's past doesn't define her." Even Alex's grandmother, a sweet but stern woman, added her voice. "Diane, dear, this isn't the time or place. Let's be a family that supports, not one that tears down." Diane was outnumbered. She mumbled something about just being concerned and walked off. Alex came over and gave me a tight hug. "See? They love you." The rest of the afternoon went surprisingly well. Uncle Mike even shared a bit of his own story with me, and I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't expected. It was like his words had broken some invisible barrier, and I found myself chatting and laughing more freely. As we drove home, I felt a mix of emotions. I was still upset about Diane's stunt, but I was touched by the unexpected support from Alex's family. "Your family is amazing, Alex," I said, leaning back in the seat. "Yeah, they're pretty great," he replied, smiling. "And now they're your family too." The support from Alex's family at the barbecue gave me a much-needed boost, but Diane wasn't the type to give up easily. I started noticing little things that didn't sit right with me. It began with a casual family dinner at Diane's house. She had always kept a few bottles of wine around, but that night, the dining room looked like a mini-bar. Bottles of all sorts were displayed prominently. I caught her eyeing me, almost as if she was daring me to take a drink. "Mom, you've outdone yourself with the drinks," Alex commented, unaware of the tension. "Oh, you know me, I like to have options for our guests," she replied, her voice too sweet. I stuck to water, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just hospitality. A few days later, Alex and I were at home when he mentioned something that made my heart drop. "Mom's been suggesting I should relax more, have a drink in the evening. She even gifted me some fancy scotch." I tried to keep my voice steady. "That's nice of her, but you don't have to drink if you don't want to." He laughed. I know. Just thought it was a bit odd, her insisting on it." That's when it hit me. Diane wasn't just targeting me. She was trying to weave alcohol back into our lives through Alex. The last straw was a conversation I accidentally overheard. I was at Diane's house, helping her set up for another family event. I thought she was in the garden, so I was surprised when I heard her voice coming from the living room. Peeking in, I saw her talking on the phone, not noticing me. "I'm telling you, she'll slip up eventually," Diane was saying. "If she's around alcohol enough, she'll go back to her old ways. Then Alex will see I was right about her." I felt sick to my stomach. She was plotting against me, trying to make me relapse. I didn't know what to do. Confront her? Tell Alex? I felt trapped and scared. At home, I sat Alex down and told him everything. The drinks at dinner, the scotch, and what I overheard. He was shocked. "Mom wouldn't do that, Emily. Maybe you misunderstood." "I wish I did, Alex, but it's all adding up. She's trying to make me drink again." Alex looked torn, caught between his wife and his mother. "Let me talk to her, okay? This has to be a misunderstanding." The days after my talk with Alex were filled with tension. He said he spoke to Diane, but things didn't change much. I was on edge, always careful around her, especially with drinks. Then, something wonderful happened that brought a glimmer of hope. I found out I was pregnant. Alex and I were over the moon. We shared the news with Diane, hoping it might soften her attitude. "Oh, a baby," Diane said, her voice flat. "That's news. Congratulations." Her reaction was underwhelming, but I didn't let it bother me. I was too happy about the baby. A couple of weeks later, Diane invited us over for dinner again. I was cautious, given her recent behavior, but Alex convinced me to give her another chance for the sake of family harmony. Dinner started off well enough. Diane was on her best behavior, or so it seemed. Then came dessert, a cake that Diane had baked herself. "It's a special recipe," she said, serving us generous slices. I took a bite and immediately knew something was off. There was a strong taste of alcohol, cognac maybe. I put my fork down, feeling nauseous. "Diane, is there alcohol in this cake?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked surprised, then chuckled. "Oh, just a splash for flavor. It's completely cooked off. Don't be so dramatic, Emily." I pushed the plate away, feeling betrayed and sick. Alex was frowning. "Mom, you know Emily doesn't drink. Why would you add alcohol to the cake?" Diane's attitude shifted. "It's just a cake, Alex. If she's so sensitive, maybe she shouldn't be eating dessert." I couldn't take it anymore. I excused myself and went outside for air. Alex followed me. "I'm sorry, Em. I don't know what's gotten into her." "I told you, Alex. She's doing this on purpose. She knows I'm pregnant and still she—" Alex hugged me. I know. I'll talk to her again. This isn't right." But talking seemed pointless. Diane had crossed a line. I couldn't trust her, not with me, not with our baby. And the worst part? I felt like Alex was still struggling to see how deep this went. That night, I lay awake, thinking about everything. Diane's actions, Alex's reluctance to fully confront her, our baby's future. I needed to protect my family, but I felt so alone in this fight. The incident with the cake stayed with me. I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. I tried to talk to Alex about it, but it felt like he wasn't fully grasping the seriousness of his mother's actions. One evening, we were sitting in the living room, and I decided to bring it up again. "Alex, I can't stop thinking about the cake Diane made. It's like she's testing me, pushing my limits." Alex looked up from his book, his expression one of concern mixed with frustration. "Em, I know it seems that way, but maybe you're reading too much into it. Mom can be insensitive, but I don't think she's doing it to hurt you." I felt a surge of frustration. How can you say that? After everything? She's not just being insensitive, she's being malicious. And with the baby on the way, I don't feel safe around her. Alex sighed, putting his book down. "I know you're upset, but that's still my mom you're talking about. Maybe we just need to give her some space, let things cool down." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Give her space. Alex, she's trying to sabotage me. I overheard her planning it. What more proof do you need? He ran his hands through his hair, a sign that he was getting stressed. I just can't believe she'd go that far. I'll talk to her again, okay? I'll make her understand that she can't keep doing this. But his words didn't reassure me. It felt like he was still in denial about his mother's intentions. And the more he tried to downplay it, the more isolated I felt. The next few weeks were tough. I started avoiding Diane as much as possible, which wasn't easy with all the family events. And every time I had to see her, I was on high alert, worried about what she might say or do. Then one day, something happened that made me question everything. Alex and I were at a family barbecue, and I overheard a conversation between Diane and one of her friends. "Yes, I've been trying to get through to Emily," Diane was saying, her voice dripping with fake concern. "I'm just worried about her, with the baby and all. You know how she used to be." Her words stung. It was like she was painting herself as the concerned mother-in-law while making me look like an unstable mess. I confronted Alex about it on the drive home. "She's telling people she's worried about me, making it sound like I'm a ticking time bomb." Alex's response was quiet, uncertain. "Maybe she's just trying to find a way to connect with you, in her own way." I felt a rush of disappointment. Her own way? By making me look bad? Alex, why can't you see what she's doing? He didn't have an answer, and the rest of the drive home was silent. The tension in our home was becoming unbearable. Alex was trying to keep the peace, but I could see he was torn. I knew I had to do something drastic to show him the truth about his mother. One night, I sat him down at our kitchen table. "Alex, I have an idea, but I need you to trust me. It's the only way to show you what your mom is really like." He looked hesitant. "What are you thinking?" "I want to set up a sting operation. I'll pretend to fall off the wagon, get drunk, and call your mom over. We'll see how she reacts when she thinks I'm alone and vulnerable." Alex was shocked. That's a big risk. What if it backfires?" "It's a risk I'm willing to take. I need you to see her true colors. Will you help me?" After a long pause, he nodded. "Okay, I'll do it, but I'll be right there, hiding, just in case." The plan was simple but risky. A few days later, I called Diane, pretending to be drunk. "Diane, can you come over? I'm not feeling good. Alex is at work, and I don't know what to do." I could hear the eagerness in her voice. "I'll be right there, Emily." We set everything up. Empty wine bottles were scattered around, and I lay on the couch, pretending to be passed out. Alex hid in the bedroom, ready to come out when needed. Diane arrived in record time. As soon as she saw me, a smile spread across her face. "I knew it. I knew you'd slip up eventually." I stayed still, listening as she continued. "You're going to ruin my son's life. But don't worry, I'll make sure he knows the truth about you." Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. "It's better this way. If you lose the baby because of your drinking, it's for the best." That's when Alex stormed out of the bedroom. "Enough, Mom! How could you say such things?" Diane turned, her face a mix of shock and anger. "Alex, what is this? Why are you here?" He was livid. "I heard everything, Mom. How could you be so cruel? How could you want harm to come to Emily and our baby?" Diane tried to backtrack, but the damage was done. Alex had heard everything. He told her to leave and not come back until she could accept and respect us. After she left, Alex turned to me, his eyes filled with remorse. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I should have believed you. I never thought she could be so hateful." I was shaken, but relieved. "It's okay, Alex. Now you know. We need to protect our family, and that includes protecting ourselves from your mom." He hugged me tight. "You're right. You and the baby are my priority. I'm sorry it took me so long to see the truth." After the confrontation with Diane, there was a palpable shift in our home. Alex was deeply troubled by his mother's actions and words, and I could see the conflict tearing at him. We knew things couldn't continue as they were. A few days later, Alex sat down across from me, a serious look in his eyes. "I spoke to Mom," he began, his voice heavy. "I tried to explain how her actions and words have hurt us, especially what she said about the baby." I held my breath, bracing myself. "And how did she take it?" He shook his head, pain etched on his face. "She wouldn't listen, Em. She just kept saying things, terrible things. She called our baby the child of an alcoholic. She refuses to accept you or our child as part of the family." I felt a sharp sting in my heart. The words cut deep, but I wasn't surprised. "So what happens now?" Alex reached for my hand, his grip firm. "I told her she's not welcome in our house anymore, not until she can respect us and our family. I can't let her hurt you or our baby." The finality in his voice was something I'd never heard before. "Are you sure about this, Alex? She's your mother." He nodded, resolute. "I am. You and our baby are my priority now. I love my mom, but I can't allow her to continue treating us this way." The decision to cut ties with Diane was a hard one, especially for Alex. But it was necessary for the well-being of our little family. We needed peace, stability, and love, things that Diane, in her current state, couldn't offer. In the following weeks, we focused on each other and the arrival of our baby. It was a time of mixed emotions. There was the joy of anticipation, but also the sadness of the rift in the family. Yet, through it all, Alex and I grew closer, our bond strengthened by the challenges we had faced. As I looked ahead, I knew there would be more obstacles, more tough decisions, but I also knew that together, Alex and I could face anything. We had chosen a path of love and respect for ourselves and for our child. And that made all the difference.